Greetings, greetings. Welcome back to another fantastic episode of the Death, Taxes, and Sports podcast. My name is Jeff Long. I'm here with several of my esteemed colleagues, Gary Legend himself, Ben Holloway, and another amazing guest, Tip Major, who is fantasy football extraordinaire. Gentlemen, how are y'all doing today?
Tip, we'll start with you. How you feeling, baby?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I've been training most of the week with my job, but
Nice.
always happy to come talk to you guys.
Oh, we appreciate it. And
Awesome.
as a quick side note, training for your job. Can I be nosy? What's your job?
Um,
Or you don't have to answer it.
no,
Doesn't
no, no,
matter.
no. It's cool. I actually work for the port of Houston here in Houston, Texas. So yeah,
Okay.
I'm just started a job with them.
Nice.
So yeah.
Nice. Sweet. What's up, Gary? How you doing?
It is the end of an era.
Uh-oh.
For the last 2 years, I've reigned supreme in the Thunderdome,
Uh-oh.
my
Uh-oh.
fantasy football league, and
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
as the great Pat Summerall said at the conclusion of the 1990 NFC Championship game
Oh
between the
no!
49ers and my
Oh.
beloved New York Giants, there will be no three-peat.
Wow.
So
Oh,
And
so
he's
that's
gonna
how,
send me that
that's how
belt. He's
that's
gonna
how
send me that belt.
that's
I'm
how
in that
Gary's
league. Send me
feeling.
that belt.
that's how I'm
Yeah, I'll
feeling.
take care of that belt for you. I'll take care of that
And
belt
it's the
for you.
double
Make sure you
whammy
know.
because of such a back and forth in our DTS league. I'm missing
Mm.
playoffs on the outside there as well. So it's just like
Yes.
a lot of mourning.
One of
a lot
those
of mourning.
years. One of those years.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jeff, how about we get this rolling, homie?
Let's get to this, but first,
Okay.
I just gotta put it out there. It
All
just
right.
came out that Draymond Green has an
Oh,
indefinite
suspended.
suspension.
You want to start there?
Indefinite. Just for like
Oh,
2 seconds.
Yeah,
hold
yeah.
on.
Indefinite.
Indefinite.
Indefinite. Yeah.
And
Let
and
me.
and Tip, since you know what, Gary, you go first. I'll throw it to Tip afterwards. But Gary, I know you got some thoughts on this.
When a player is no longer as effective as his reputation once showed, you get to see these little acts. In the previous generation, it was Dennis Rodman.
Mm-hmm.
Before him, he shared the title with Bill Laimbeer towards the end. When you're no longer that effective, you become a nuisance. You become a problem. And you become
Mm-hmm.
what the Warriors are dealing with now. There's no part of me that's surprised by the indefinite suspension. It needed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
If he's gonna follow if we're gonna follow what Adam Silver did to John Morant, where John Morant got in trouble, got suspended for 8 games, said, "I'm sorry, I'll never do this again," and then less than a month later turn around and do the same dumb shit yet again,
Mm-hmm.
and then had to eat a longer suspension. You've got to do the same thing for Draymond Green. He is a habitual line stepper, always has been, and he's no longer as effective defensively as he once was. When you are, I feel like the term heart and soul of a team is a gift and a curse. It's a gift because it explains the behavior. It doesn't justify it, but it's like he's the emotional barometer for this team. He's the pace setter for this team. But now it's like it's no longer as effective. It's no longer like you can do it when you're winning. When they're
Yeah.
73-9,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
please give me more of that. But you would think that your behavior at one point is the direct cause of your team not winning an NBA championship and going down as the singular
Mm-hmm.
greatest team in
Yep.
NBA history, and
Mm-hmm.
you're the reason why that was the case. Now, yes, I will give Cleveland its credit. It's LeBron, so it's not that they lost to a bunch of scrubs, but
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that team was pencil marked from day one to be the 2016 NBA champion. And
Yep.
then what happened?
Yep.
Draymond kicked
Draymond-
LeBron low,
Draymond
got
went.
suspended,
Draymond went. Draymond.
right, in the worst possible time.
Mm-hmm.
He is, for as basketball smart as Draymond Green is, he is emotionally stupid. Like I've never seen a more emotionally stupid professional athlete with all the tools that Draymond Green has. Because the difference between him, Rodman, and Bill Laimbeer had a jump shot. Yes, he was a big man that could shoot the three. Rodman wasn't about the offense. Draymond could give you both. But at this point in his career, what the hell is he giving you that's making it worth keeping him? I know the Warriors gave him that $100 million contract over 4 years, whatever the case is. It's more of a thank you for your service. I get that. But at this point, when this Warriors team doesn't make the play-in, damn making the top 6 seed, if they don't make the play-in, this is all going to blow up in their face. Kerr's on his way out, or at least he has an out after this year. Klay Thompson has an out after this year. So now you're just going to waste the best of what's left of Steph Curry? Like, there's such a seismic change that can come from this.
Yep.
Yeah. And Gary, I know you're very passionate about it. I love it. Tip, your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, no, Gary said a lot of really good points, a lot of things that I believe. But here's the thing, this NBA is different. The commissioner, Adam Silver, he wants a different NBA, and he wants everybody to love each other. Kumbaya, everybody's kindred spirits. We're all on one same team. That's what he wants. And, I'm not going to say that David Stern didn't want that, but it was a different era back then. You had your bad guys. You had,
it was the Wild West.
You had your Karl Malones. You had your, Dennis Rodmans. You had your Charles Barkleys. Those guys were like the bullies of the league back then.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want any bullies, and we have to understand that's just the NBA that we are now in. And, with mental health the way it is outside of, in the world and everything, Gary's right. I mean, Draymond on the court, hell, probably even off the court, is probably a smart dude. He went to Michigan State, so he's got to be pretty smart. But when it comes to his emotional psyche, the dude is just dumb. Like, he will continue, like, you call a technical on him, you call a foul on him, he'll continue to go after that person. It's like he sees red, and I think he even said it. I see red, and nobody on that team can calm him down.
No.
Not the organization, not the player. Nobody on that team can calm him. You would have thought by now, at least one of those guys, Steph, Klay, hell, somebody off the bench would have been like, dude, shut up, like, stop,
Yeah.
And I think Jordan Poole was the only guy.
I was getting ready to say,
I think Jordan Poole was the only guy who stood up to him. And now he's out off the team
in purgatory.
I think I think that first off, I'm glad. I think that they announced it as an indefinite, because I think it would have been a mistake to just be like, you know what, we gave him 5, so you know what, let's give him 15, just because that's 10 more than 5, so that sounds about right. So let's just do that as a cop out. I'm glad, honestly, that they didn't do that, to be honest, because this indefinitely, if we're being completely fair, if they woke up tomorrow and said, Draymond, you can play, Draymond, you can play. That's not going to happen, obviously. But the indefinite gives the league the parameters, which is part of what – we're not going to go too far into it, especially because it just came out, but they have established parameters that he has to meet in order to come back and play. He cannot play another game until he meets the parameters. That's what the release said. So, frankly, it could be 5 games. It could be 15. It could be 30 games. We don't know, because we don't know what the parameters are. And, Gary, I believe it was you that said something, and Tip may have been you as well, but here's the issue. I don't listen to his podcast, but in what others say, he's extremely intelligent. Very, very smart. Not just about basketball. Like, just he's a really, really smart dude. Okay, so both things can be true at the same time. You can be highly intelligent and be a moron with how you act.
Yeah.
Because I can't explain the behavior any other way besides, like, you are an idiot. Like, what are you doing? And Stephen A. said something that I just heard, actually, so I got to say it. And Stephen A. Smith, whatever, you like him, hate him, whatever. He's good at what he does. It's like, actually, no, it wasn't him. It was his guest. It was Jay Williams who said it. And I hadn't thought about it, but it's like Draymond feels entitled. Like, I can do what I want to do because I choked a guy and they only gave me 5 games. So you're only going to give me 5 games for choke holding a guy like a wrestling move where Gobert, like for a brief amount of time, couldn't really breathe. Like that choke was like tight, and they only gave him 5 games for that. So he's like, "Yo, I choked somebody out, and y'all only suspended me 5 games. Let me up the ante. Let me keep
Right?
raising it up and raising it up." And it's like, yo, and I feel, I mean, I don't know, but I feel if that Gobert choke thing happened and they gave him like 15 games for that, this thing wouldn't have happened. It's because he got 5 games. He's like, y'all gonna give me 5 games again? What the hell? What? Why can't, like?
I would say, or really, if he got 15 for the Gobert choke and then he pulls off this, that could end the season.
Oh yeah, you're
Like,
done.
let's be very clear.
Yeah, yes.
Like,
You get
at
15 for that. Yes.
At some point, what Adam Silver is trying to avoid is another Ron Artest malice at the Palace.
Mhm.
And Draymond Green is the perfect villain for that story. He would fit in. He would fit the Ron Artest role to a T.
Do you think Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, those cats, really want to be getting into fights with people? I mean, they're not about that life. I'm sorry, they're not about that life. Klay Thompson is not about that life. Steph Curry from North Carolina is not about that life.
Steph Curry
Kuminga is not about that life. Maybe Kevin, maybe Looney. Looney looks like he probably knock a brother out. But outside of that,
no.
Who are you going to scrap with? Come on now, who are you going to scrap with? But no, just real quick, Gary. Just real quick. He's in the same vicinity as Rasheed Wallace. Okay?
Yeah, for ejections. For
ejections. Rasheed Wallace is 25. Draymond Green has 18. You're in the same company as Rasheed Wallace. You're a 4-time NBA champion
and this has to be
and
said,
multiple all-defensive
Rasheed
NBA.
Wallace gets suspended probably out of those 25 times. About 23 of them were related to talking shit to the refs. It wasn't chokeholds. It was arguing with the refs. It wasn't this crap.
I can feed into that argument, Ben. None of it, like only the one suspension really was for when he allegedly confronted the referee and the docs after the game in loading dock.
Yeah.
All like he's gotten a bunch of suspensions for having too many texts, but that's for having too many texts. Like that's just like all right,
different.
Right. Rasheed Wallace is not fighting the same way. Or did not fight the same way that Draymond Green.
But
they were two different beasts in that.
Yeah. I love it. I love the concept for this one. We're gonna have to breeze from that one. But we got some other stuff here. But of course, we had to talk about the whole indefinite suspension. It just literally came up on my phone, hence why I just had to say about it. But let's but Tip, man, this Cowboys versus Eagles game.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh man, and I see the smile on your face there, Benny boy.
Hey,
I know you're happy.
Hey,
I know you're happy.
I'm sitting back. Y'all call me what you want to. Go to Texas first.
Here's all I'm gonna say. Is I think this is the best chance that the Cowboys have in a long time to potentially win a Super Bowl. Okay. I'm not saying they are going to do it.
you made Gary go off the screen.
And the fashion. The fact, I look at what's on the field. I'm looking at what's on the field. I'm seeing how they're playing and the way that they dominated that game from beginning to end. It wasn't a close game. They controlled the line of scrimmage. Their defense was legitimate. Their offense was legitimate. I mean, it's the Eagles. They're at home. We'll see what happens in the road. But for right now, I'm buying a little bit of Cowboy stock, maybe like a half of a point,
like a quarter of a penny. Like less
like
than
quarter of a penny.
Less than a penny. Like less than a penny.
But Tip, your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I thought after the 49ers kicked Philadelphia's ass in Philly, I was thinking that we were going to get a hungry, just really extremely motivated Philadelphia team. And we got everything but that. Cowboys came in there, or they were at home, and they just kicked their ass from start to finish. And this is it's a little scary because later on in the season, are they getting worn down? Is Jalen Hurts a little banged up with his knee? They're not really running the ball effectively. It's not looking good for their offense. These last two games that they played, albeit they played some juggernaut defenses, they averaged
Mhm.
16 points, and you are not gonna go
Mhm.
anywhere in the playoffs averaging
Mhm.
16. I don't care how good your defense is, you
Yeah,
gotta score points.
tip real quick. I got you to support you. Those games 49ers and Cowboys. The 49ers and Cowboys scored a combined 75 points. Eagles scored 32 points. 72 to
Yeah,
35 the last
it's
two games.
crazy. And I really seriously think that something's up with Jalen Hurts' knee. Now he's a tough guy. He's not going to say
Mhm.
anything. He's not going to make excuses. They're going to still run the tush push. They're gonna because the guy is a baller.
Yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
there's something
He
going on
doesn't
there.
I will say this about Jalen Hurts that I fully respect and I think everybody here can. He will never make excuses.
No.
Never. It's never my knee hurt so I couldn't do this or my receivers did that. No, Jalen Hurts, one thing I will say confidently, he always takes accountability and he will not blame anybody, nor will he make any excuses. And that's what you want as a leader, which the quarterback is the leader. So gotta give Jalen Hurts credit. He's not afraid when the criticism comes at him, or like, no, he's a man. He takes it on the chin. And he doesn't make excuses.
Yeah.
So
And if I could
I respect him for that for sure.
say something, I remember at the beginning of the season, Dak Prescott was saying that, he was going to be calling somewhere about 85%, 90% of the plays. And I laughed. I said, there's no way in hell you're going to be calling the plays. And then I started thinking about it. I started looking back. Well, you know your plays. You know the plays that you like to run, as the
Hmm.
quarterback of the team. So
As
you're
the
going to
quarterback, yep.
call plays that are easy for you to, understand, manipulate, whatever he has to do, call an audible. You're going to
Mm,
call those plays to make it easier on yourself. And now I think we're seeing a more confident Dak Prescott, a Dak Prescott that is comfortable calling the plays, calling an audible if he has to, calling the plays with McCarthy, Coach McCarthy. It's a different Dak. It is a different, and with that defense, the way that they've been playing, and the capability that they have, hey, Jeff's right. You maybe should buy a little stock into these
just a
Cowboys.
little bit, just a
Just a
little
little
bit,
bit.
just
less than a penny. Like I said, less than a penny.
Less than a
it's
penny,
not,
half
it's
a
not,
penny.
it's yeah, Ben. It's not like doubting, but it's just they did it at home, right? So it's just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
this could be the game where this could turn their season around. We're like, okay, mentally they got over that hump, right? There had
Yep.
to be a little bit of that mental barrier. It was like,
Yeah,
okay,
because they
all
hadn't
right,
beat
what happens
anybody.
if we go down?
They,
Exactly.
up until the
Now I want to
Eagles,
see
they
if,
didn't beat anybody.
right, but I want to see if they're on the road and they're down by 10 late in the
Mm,
third quarter.
yep,
How do they
yep,
respond?
Yeah,
It's the
exactly.
moment. But
Yeah,
absolutely.
go,
Gary, go
Gary,
ahead. Gary, go ahead. Have at
go
it,
ahead.
kid.
I know you're excited.
Again, like I have my own excitement in my little NFC East world, so I'm good.
Okay.
It's just for the record. But as far as the Cowboys, I get the hype behind them. I see their offense is of just running at historic levels. Their defense is still doing their thing, doing their thing and everything. And for Philly, I get it. They're getting everybody's best shot.
Hmm. Yeah.
Last season, everybody kind of saw this or believed that this could be, you know, something down the line. Like, this team could be special. And we saw they got as close to winning a championship as, without actually winning it. Now you're getting everybody's best shot. It's a slog of a season. You've played a whole bunch of games already, and you're still not done yet. And you're still fighting for that top seed and all that. Like, there's a level of, and this is also part of that Super Bowl hangover. You're seeing that, and we'll talk about Kansas City later on. But I'm saying like, you're seeing that on their side. There is a Super Bowl hangover, and especially with a longer season, you're really feeling it. Going back though, as far as Dallas and as far as buying stock in them, I understand why people would. I'm also looking at, sir. I'm looking at the historical. I'm looking at everything from a historical preference because if we don't believe that history repeats itself, you'll be sadly mistaken.
You see that though, Gary? You
Because
see
Mike,
that?
I
That's
see it. I understand that, but I'm also banking on Mike McCarthy doing the Mike McCarthy thing come January. I am banking on the fact that until they do right by Jimmy Johnson, there's nothing that's going to be all the way complete. I'm not saying that they can't win it this year, but I'm saying once Jimmy Johnson's in, let's look at this team next year and see exactly. Because if I'll buy a full stock, if they're doing the exact same thing at this time a year later with Jimmy Johnson in the Ring of Honor, oh yeah, no, that's a team that's going to go win the Super Bowl.
Oh well, no, they said he's in. He's in.
Yeah, they're putting him in this year.
I understand that
this year, right?
I know, but the curse needs a year to.
Oh,
look at this guy.
You're not going to sneak Jimmy Johnson into the Ring of Honor and think, oh, that's the lead into a deep playoff run. We understand y'all being slick. I ain't playing with y'all. No,
Gary, it's like we're just gonna slide into your DM. We're gonna put Jimmy Johnson into the Ring of Honor and pretend he was there. We're gonna pretend he was in the Ring of Honor for the last 25 years.
Right.
That's
you're
what
going to go on this wild run, and then all of a sudden we're going to win a trophy. No, we're not buying that.
Look, here's what I'm going to say. Okay, historical context matters when it comes to how a team does. Okay, like I get it, right? It's like with quarterbacks, Ohio State. It's like, okay, have there been historically great Ohio State quarterbacks? No, but eventually that trend will break, as we're seeing with C.J. Stroud, right? With running backs, with Zeke Elliott, right? So it's like with the Cowboys, it's like, yes, they haven't really done jack-ish since 1996. Dang, that's a long time. I believe those 76 Broncos won 3 of those things since then. But anyway, I digress.
I believe I was in the third grade. Third grade.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, I was 1995, let's put it in perspective. I was 8. 8 years old. 1995. I was 8.
So wait, second grade then. Yeah, second grade.
8. So, anyways, y'all went in on this.
Hold on now.
All right.
I was about to toss it to you. Damn.
All right, then.
All right. You know what? Take it away, Ben.
All right. I got you. So, I already said Philly got outscored 75-32. That was one thing I wrote down. Yes, they were against 49ers and Cowboys, 2 very good opponents. And prior to those 2 games, they had they had won. But they beat the Chiefs, they beat the Bills, and I think one other game in there. So they went through what we call a murderer's row schedule. The Eagles did. Now Dallas is in their own murderer's row. Started with Seattle, then Philly, now at Buffalo, at Miami, home Detroit. So we have a 5-game gauntlet that isn't the same as the Eagles' 5-game gauntlet. It's not the same teams. But they had their gauntlet. Now we got our gauntlet, and the division could be decided by, even though they weren't the same teams. The Eagles' 5 games, their gauntlet, they went 3-2, I believe, because you lost the last 2. Dallas's 5-game gauntlet, they're only 2 games in, they're 2-0. So if they go 5-0 in their 5-game gauntlet, use the word if here. But if they were to go 5-0 in their 5 gauntlet, and the Eagles went 3-2 in their 5 gauntlet, that could decide the division possibly. Because frankly, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. If the Eagles take care of business, Dallas could be 14-3 and the number 5 seed. The Eagles have a cupcake schedule. Their only game they could potentially lose is Monday night at Seattle. Seattle may have Geno Smith, may have Drew Lock, and I understand Seattle is a tough pace to play. And let's be honest, Philly's secondary is trash. And you got DK Metcalf, you got Tyler Lockett, and you got Jackson Smith-Njigba. Like, I think Seattle's going to win that game. Seattle's going to be able to score some points.
Seattle's going to win that game.
I can't even say that. I'm a Cowboys fan. I cannot say that. I can't say that.
Are you really about to disrespect the legend of Tommy Cutlets and say that we can't get one of them wins?
Yeah, you're not beating them. Actually, to be completely honest, y'all might actually win one of those games. Somehow, some way, the Giants kick a field goal with 0 seconds left, and the legend of Cutlet Boy continues. I mean, it's possible. It's possible.
What is your confidence level? I just want this to you, and then we got to get to. Then we'll throw it to you, Ben, for the
Yeah,
Twitter poll here.
just give me
What is
one
your
last minute, but go to tip first.
what is your confidence level in either the Eagles or the Cowboys winning their division?
I mean, right now, I would say the confidence level. I still think the Eagles will probably eke it out. The Cowboys, they got a tough road ahead, man. We
Mhm.
just talked about it. This is going to be the easiest road for the Eagles, but then again, it's all predicated on that knee of Jalen Hurts, man.
Mhm.
If that knee is, I mean, he has not. He needs to I don't know, get that Mr. Miyagi, get some healing on that knee, whatever it is, man. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, I still think the Eagles could still do it, man. I still think they got a shot to do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
Absolutely.
and
So
I'll
All
say
I'm more
I'll
confident the Eagles win the
right.
division.
Okay.
okay.
All
I'll
right. I
say this
respect that.
quick. I'll say this quick on the Cowboys. Their last 7 games, which they're 6-1. We've all seen the stat. Last 7 games, 22 touchdowns, 2 interceptions for Dak, 22-2. Pretty good ratio. Pretty good. But in those 7 games that they're 6-1, they did lose to Philly at Philly, 28-23. That's part of those 7 games. But in those 7 games, they've averaged almost 40 points, 38.14. And I know they were against trash opponents. I get it. But you still got to put up a 40 burger. Like, not everybody's putting up 40 burgers even against the crap teams. Like, Miami, frankly, should have put up a 40 burger against the Titans with
Mhm.
Tyreek, without Tyreek. They didn't
I'm
put
gonna
up a
give that
40
game
burger.
a.
They
I'm gonna
didn't
give him
put
a
a
pass in that
they
game.
didn't put up a
Give him a
40
pass in that game.
burger. You still got to put up the 40 burgers, no matter who you're playing. You got to put them up.
I
So,
could put
but
up a 40 burger.
you probably could. But but I don't know why you said that and I said
Boom.
that, but we're going with it. So
Yeah, that's
we
what you
did a
should do.
Twitter poll on November 28th and then on December 13th. So 2 weeks, right? The first one they're both the questions were exactly the same, just 2 weeks apart. The question was started with November 28th. Who's more likely to make the Super Bowl? Not win, make the Super Bowl. Miami or Dallas? Who's more likely? On 11/28, both teams were 8-3. And because that time I left the poll open for like 5 days, there was almost 700 votes, and it was really close. So 677 votes in total, and it was 51-49 in favor of Miami.
Oh,
51-49.
oh,
Now, literally the same exact question I did today. Dallas or Miami, who is more likely to make the Super Bowl? Not win, just make. And I figured the numbers would be different, obviously, but I was curious to see it's only 2 weeks, it's only 2 games. Miami had a really bad loss, but that doesn't mean Miami sucks. So what's going to be the difference? I was more curious than anything else. Here's the difference. 71% Dallas, 29% Miami.
hmm.
Now, it was only one day, so it's less votes, but a total of 209 votes. 209 votes, and Dallas was 71%, Miami 29%. I just thought it was interesting. 2 weeks apart, like totally different.
Yeah.
Totally different. And
Well,
really,
well Tim,
Dallas went 2-0, Miami went 1-1.
Yeah.
It's not like the
and,
records
and,
are
and
that much different. They're still similar.
yeah, and Tip, like it's like we always say for sports, everything is like cyclical, right? Like everything is very has like ebbs and flows. So it's like
Right.
I how many times in the AFC where we were getting ready to crown Miami as like the potentially best team in the AFC, but then
Yeah.
go and turn around and drop a dud against Tennessee, and we're like, well, right, like,
Right.
well, they beat the teams that they're supposed to beat, but now, like, you could see how much Miami is a rhythm oriented type of team, and when
Mhm.
the rhythm is messed up, they
Yeah.
are just like, oh, what do we do? It's like,
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you're right about the rhythm being messed up, and look what happened. Tyreek Hill got knocked out of the game, and guess what? Tyreek Hill is the engine that keeps that offense running, and he was banged up, so that offense was a little bit out of rhythm. Tua was out of rhythm, and then sometimes I feel like Coach McDaniel's, sometimes just tries to draw up these really cute plays, and I mean they look cool when they work. I mean they look
Mhm.
really cool when they work. But Mike Vrabel is a type of coach that is not up for that nonsense. He's a no nonsense type coach. Comes from the Belichick tree, so he's one of those guys that probably knows every trick in the book, or seen some of these tricks before. So yeah, I feel like it was a little bit of that. I think it was a little fluky because if Miami wanted to win that game, I think look, they had 2 touchdowns in the last
It
8
was
minutes
20,
of the game.
20. It was a tip. The score was 27-13 Miami with 3 minutes and 55 seconds left.
Yeah, so
and I know for the game was over, I would have won. But then DeAndre Hopkins scored a touchdown, and there goes that.
Now we also got to make sure we understand that their secondary is banged up. Xavier Howard got banged up. They lost. Well, they lost their safety a couple of weeks ago, and they're a little banged up. So their secondary, I mean, as long as you're gonna chunk it, they're a little susceptible right now, especially in that safety position. But that still doesn't mean that you can't have a rookie quarterback come in there and score 2 touchdowns on you like that. I mean, it was a little fluky, but yeah.
So there's and let's. Did you have any thoughts, Gary?
No, just I feel like Miami. There's enough positives to overshadow the negatives with them, but as far as like you said, Tyreek is the motor, and they go as he goes. We thought it would be a Tua thing, but no, it's really him, because you look at that team, you look at like, you have somebody like a Jalen Waddle on the other side. I'm going to go ahead and utilize him because, again, a lot of this, I'm a little just butthurt from losing in fantasy football. I had Jalen Waddle as my starter, thinking, okay, he's going to benefit and reap the benefits off of having to be
the guy,
be the guy, or being the perfect decoy, or having Tyreek be the beneficiary of being Tyreek's decoy.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it just it didn't happen. It's like, is Tua banking too much on Tyreek Hill the way that, like, say, Brady
absolutely
had Gronk?
Probably.
Well, yeah, and Tyreek wants the 2,000. He wants it. The team wants it for him. Everybody wants it for him. And I think that's
not doing it.
I don't know, man.
I think he kind of needed a big game against the Titans because the Titans secondary is so bad that, like, people were saying he could have went for 200 on Monday night. And he only got like 60 or something.
He should have eaten. He should have.
Yeah, absolutely.
That game and that defense was teed up for him to have that breakout Monday night football performance every great has their like shining moment, and that was supposed to be his.
Like 200 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
it was there.
And if I could just make this real quick point, I think that once the playoffs start, it's almost like a quick reset, a slate and a clean slate. And I think that they'll, either he hit the 2,000 or he didn't, and we might see a different Miami Dolphins team, a more focused on winning the game, not getting Tyreek the ball, something like that.
Yeah, there's 3 things. There's 3 things to take away from this. 31-year-old Raheem Mostert is a beast this season. Age, counting the youth. I don't think 31's that old. Secondly, I think this shows that I think Tyreek Hill should at least get a couple MVP votes. I don't care what no one else says.
Absolutely.
It would be a travesty if he doesn't, even if he doesn't win it.
He's going to be the runner-up.
I could go on another rant about that because Tyreek and McCaffrey should be number 1 and number 2 in MVP voting, hands down.
Easily.
Forget the quarterback.
This game showed it.
Number 2,
and then third,
Tyreek, CMC.
And then third, Mike Vrabel will be the next Patriots coach after Bill Belichick is gone.
Oh,
okay.
I'm putting that down.
I like that.
Book it. I'm just saying. Like, there's just something about it. Vrabel has proven to be an effective coach. I feel there's going to be a trade. You just say this now at 9:05 Eastern Standard Time today. There's going to be a trade in the offseason where Vrabel is going to be the next Patriots coach. He just personifies what that team is and what they should be. That's all I'm going to say. But let's get to this Jalen Hurts. Because when we're talking, guys, I just kind of feel that Jalen Hurts and has regressed mightily. His numbers now, I don't know whether you attribute that to injuries, but just numbers. he's still good. He's still effective. He's still someone you
Oh
start.
yeah.
But just
Mm.
numbers wise, Ben, it's just like it's just
Sorry,
something.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
You know,
I just
no, go
kind of
ahead.
want to go first if I can on this one.
Yeah,
So the
that's why I went
question,
to you, Ben. So you can
oh,
go first. That's why I went to you. That's why I said your name. Your name is Ben. So when I say
yes,
Ben, you go. Okay?
okay,
Are you ready?
thanks for the coaching.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate it. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Anytime.
So
Anytime.
so the question is, has the topic here, Jalen Hurts, has he regressed, number one, and number two, and maybe more importantly, if the answer to that first question is yes, should Eagles be concerned long term, whether it be the fans, the players, the organization? So for me, the first part of the question, has he regressed? My answer is yes. The second part of the question, is it a long term concern for either the fans or the organization? My answer to that is no, because for two reasons, my answer to the second question is no. One, we've already talked about it. Clearly, something's going on with his knee. We would not be shocked if he has to have knee surgery in the offseason. It would not be a shock at all. Something is going on with his knee. He's clearly not 100%. Even though, to your point, Tip, they're still doing the tush push. They're still making him scramble. They're still doing all these things because he's clearly either taking shots or wearing a knee brace or both. Either way. And he's a gamer. So my long-term concern, the answer being no, has to do with that. And then also what is not being talked about, besides if you're an Eagles fan, they miss their coordinators significantly.
Oh, there it is.
On offense and defense. Shane Steichen, who, by the way, is doing an amazing job with the Colts, has Gardner Minshew. I will repeat that name, Gardner Minshew, in prime position to make the playoffs. And then the D coordinator, was it Glennon or Gannon?
Yeah.
Gannon.
Yeah. Big eyes Gannon.
He's the coach of Arizona. And let's please ignore the 3-10 record, because Kyler Murray has played, 2 games, maybe 3 games.
And they beat Pittsburgh on the road.
And they beat Dallas way back in week 3 or something. The same week, a small excuse. It is an emotional. It's an emotional thing to lose Trayvon Diggs to a torn ACL that week. I'm not making a full excuse, but I think that had a lot to do with them losing that game. But that's besides the point.
Okay.
Even when Arizona was losing games without Kyler Murray, them games were close. They played the 49ers at the 49ers, and in the fourth quarter, it was a 1-score game. Like, that coach has the Cardinals playing tough, believing like that. And that's why, by the way, I'm kind of friends with this dude on Twitter. He has a podcast. He does a heavy lot of DraftKings. He's been on ours. AK. Remember AK? Millie Goats podcast? Yes. Huge 49ers fan. So I asked him, we talk like periodically. So I asked him, like, out of the teams left on your schedule, like, if you had to be like, man, I'm the most worried that we might lose that game, you would think common sense would be the Ravens, because the Ravens are 10-3. He's like, nah. If we have a small weakness on defense, it's athletic and mobile quarterbacks. So he is most concerned out of their 4 games left that they will lose this week to Arizona. Just throwing it out there. That's what he said.
All right. Gary?
I don't know. I'm like, Ben, you made a great point. You made such great points that now I'm rethinking this.
Sorry.
No, just if the question is
has he regressed? And
no, I know. I was leading to that. Yes,
I got you.
I know he has he regressed. I don't know if it's necessarily a regression as much as it's a combination of injury and the fact that, and we say this all the time, this is something that I've always been a big proponent of. When somebody has an off season or a down season after having a tremendous, first year or two or something, it could be also that the league is catching up to them.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, could be.
You know what I'm saying? Like, defenses now, there's more footage. There's more there. You have more ways to create good defensive schemes to stop them.
Yeah, there's more game film. There's more film.
Right. So I look at that more as not so much a regression. I look at a regression as like you are the sole reason, or at least a key reason why your team's losing, or if the Eagles were on the outside of the playoff picture looking in, then we can say, okay, is this a regression? I think this is, like I said, this is the slog of a long season, especially after coming off of Super Bowl appearance, and just the league catching up to like.
I like it. I like it.
Any great player is going to have a down year because there's going to be ways to stop him that has been created that wasn't there before.
Like he's going to go through a little slump because
of.
I
think that's the best way to word it. It's more of a slump than it is
a slump,
a regression.
Okay. Yeah, and
I don't think. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Gary. You can finish.
No, I was just going to say, just as far as should Eagles fans be worried? No, I think this is one of those, like, if they don't get back to the Super Bowl, I don't think that's like, oh, everybody needs to panic. I think it's a matter of like, hey, the NFC is better than, than what we made it out to be. They've shown to be the superior conference this season. Right now in the AFC, nobody's really been able to break out. In the NFC, it's like them and the 49ers, and now Dallas have kind of started to really separate themselves from the pack.
Yeah, and Tip, the one thing, like, long term, I don't think they should worry. If anything, they should feel very enthused and excited about Jalen Hurts, what he's been able to do when he hasn't been playing his best. The team hasn't been playing, but they still find ways to win. So you imagine if they do turn things around next season, the sky's the limit, right? So that's kind of growth. But Jalen Hurts, though, there's something just not right. But yet they're still 10-3, which is still a phenomenal record, albeit with some of the things. So they're still finding ways to win.
And don't you feel like this is such a weird, like, we're showing concern for a 10-3 team?
Yeah, 10-3. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's not like they are like 7-6 and on the bubble. Like,
and Gary,
they're clearly going to make the playoffs.
Well, Gary, not only 10-3, there's a very high probability they'll be 14-3.
Yeah.
You're likely, and then we're here a month now going like, we go back to this conversation and go, isn't it silly? We were over here worried now.
Yeah, exactly.
They've gone ahead and reestablished themselves.
Gary, you forced me to change my answer now. Regression is not the word. Slump is the word.
And let's get Tip, but Tip, I'm curious about what some of your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, no, I'm not concerned about Jalen Hurts at all. If I'm an Eagles fan at all, I'm happy about him. I am concerned about that knee. I know Eagles fans, Philly fans, they're impatient. I'm just a little concerned about that knee. It's starting to get colder. They play in an outdoor stadium. He's going to have to get extra treatment on that knee. I'm just a little nervous about the knee. I'm not nervous about the player at all. I mean, right now he's on pace for over 4,000 yards passing.
Hey,
his rushing touchdowns.
Are you saying nervous about the knee? I just want to make sure I'm interpreting it. You're nervous that it could get worse, right?
Over time.
That's what you're
absolutely.
saying?
Because they're going to continue to lean on him, and they're going to need him. But as long as they keep, that wide receiver corps intact, their offensive line and defensive lines are getting older. I think they need to start addressing those pretty soon. But other than that, man, I'm not concerned about Jalen Hurts at all, man. The dude's a gamer.
By the way,
a coach's kid. He's a baller, man.
Tip, when you said the line, that was the most shocking thing about Sunday night. Dallas dominated the line of scrimmage on both sides.
Yep.
And before the season in August, you would have said the Eagles were stronger on offensive line and the Eagles were stronger on
defensive
getting older.
Line.
So it was a shock to see the line of scrimmage dominated by Dallas.
I want to say last year
that part was a shock to me.
I want to say it last year, or maybe the year before that. The Eagles had the best offensive line and best defensive line.
Yeah, that was last year.
Yeah,
that was last year.
Yeah.
They set a record for most sacks in history.
Yeah, absolutely.
At the end of the day, it's going to be a perfect segue. At the end of the day, they're still 10-3. They had 2 bad losses, but they're still the reigning NFC champs, and they still find ways to win while playing ugly. Those last 2 losses were bad, but you know what? We had the 49ers when they lost 3 games in a row to inferior opponents, and right. But then they were able to wrap the shit. Now we're saying they're the best, right? They're literally the 49ers are 2 injuries away from being an average team again. We're saying that right now. Pat Towns for the
100%
best.
fact.
The minute
100%.
Debo goes down, Trent Williams goes down, or Christian McCaffrey, even one of those 2 players goes out, their calculus changes. So they're very top heavy. But anyway.
Jeff,
Yeah,
super quick. To what you just said, it doesn't need to be 2 of those. 1. And I'll add on, if it's Kittle missing time, if it's Ayuk missing time, if it's Debo missing time, if it's McCaffrey, it doesn't matter. If they don't have one of those guys for a 1 playoff or 2 playoff games, one of those guys is out. They're not winning.
I mean, they have the best crop of skill position players.
Absolutely.
Hands down. And they got Chase Young. I mean, let's just the give that keeps on giving. Man, so Gary, these Lions, man, we just gotta wonder, do they have a golf problem? And you think about the next 3 to 5 years, can win the Super Bowl with this guy. And we all were really excited for the Lions because last season they started out really, really terrible, and then they went on an incredible run. This year they went on an incredible start to the season, and now they are playing like trash, and their defense is showing some issues here. And so for me, I think it's more than just a golf problem, but we also have to remember, yes, he's a first overall pick, but there's a reason why he's a Fugazi number 1 overall pick, because I don't think he had no business being number 1 overall pick in the first place. And third, there's a reason why he got traded, and the Rams won the Super Bowl the next year with Matthew Stafford. So I think we have to remember those things, that Jared Goff is Jared Goff. So yes, I do think they have a problem, and they cannot win one with him at quarterback. That's all I'm going to say. But your thoughts?
I mean, you kind of just made all my points for me. Like that. I mean, yeah, they're obviously my love of the word Fugazi. So yes, Jared Goff is the Fugazi number 1 pick. And yes, if he was meant to be the quarterback that led the Rams to winning a Super Bowl, they wouldn't have traded for Matthew Stafford. They would not have plucked Matthew Stafford from that original purgatory that Detroit has been. And, but saying that, Jared Goff did lead the Rams to a Super Bowl. Obviously, he didn't score in the Super Bowl, but he got them to the promised land. You can't take that away from them. You know what I'm saying? Can he be the guy? Sure. Should he be the guy? Probably not.
Okay.
I could see another. I know everybody's been invoking his name, like, oh, if you put him on another team, he's gonna do this, that, third. So I'll say it for this guy. If you had put a Justin Fields with that offense, they would be a more credible threat. But I think Jared Goff
1,000%, yes. Yep.
I think Jared Goff is the serviceable quarterback that can get you to the promised land. But as he's already shown you, he's not going to be the reason why you win a Super Bowl. If Detroit ever wins a Super Bowl, he will not be the reason why. It'll be their offense. It'll more than likely be their defense that really carries the day. If let's say in the next 3 to 5 years, Detroit wins the Super Bowl, I guarantee you the MVP of the Super Bowl will be Aiden Hutchinson before anybody else.
You sure not Gary Legend? It's not going to be you. I think he'll win the MVP. I'll go for you.
I mean,
I think it would be Amon-Ra St. Brown, to be honest.
Again, but
like 150 yards, 2 touchdowns, something like that.
But you're banking on the fact that Jared Goff is going to be the one that delivered that 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. I'm saying that if it's the same argument that Jared Goff would probably win a Super Bowl MVP in that situation because the NFL likes their quarterbacks winning Super Bowl MVPs over their defense. Hello, Michael Strahan. But
Yeah. And then Tip and Ben, and then want to get a little bit of fantasy football here because there's definitely some things that we want to get Tip's opinions on. But
Tip.
Yeah.
Okay. So Tip, go ahead. Tip, your turn.
Yeah. So for me, man, I think the jury's still out for Jared Goff. Obviously the team themselves, they, like to run the ball. They like to run a balanced attack, right? So have they gotten away from the run? I don't think so. I mean, they're still running the ball pretty effectively. Jared Goff needs a good running game. That's why you have 2 really good running backs. that can run the ball, and then he needs like a go-to guy, like he had with Cooper Kupp. Now he has Amon-Ra St. Brown. Hell, he even now has the tight end over there, Laporta. I mean, he's got Laporta as well. I think the Lions are even like questioning themselves: is Jared Goff the guy? They went and drafted the kid from Tennessee over this past year. So yeah, they got him, and then now they got Teddy Bridgewater. So they are preparing themselves for if Jared Goff is the guy, great, that's fine. But if he's not the guy, we've got a backup plan. Whether it be Hendon Hooker, whether it be Teddy Bridgewater, but they've got a backup plan, and they've got a young enough group where they have a decent backup plan. Look, they got one of the best, if not the best, offensive line in the league, and they've stayed pretty much relatively healthy for majority of the year. So when we get to these colder months, when they get into these playoffs, we could see a scenario where the Detroit Lions are where we're not talking about they are going to be because of that. Because of now their defense is really letting them down. They did really well at the beginning of the season, and then they just started tailing off until now. We're starting to see they're just giving up a ton of points to what they did. But I will say this: Jared Goff always struggles against Chicago. Chicago plays him pretty tough. He's averaged about 215 yards against them with 1 touchdown and 1 pick. So that's that should have been a given against the. There's just some teams people don't play good against, or they've got their number, whatever. But I still think Jared Goff is still a work in progress. I think that right now he's their best chance to win. But let's see what happens in 2-3 years. Once these other guys get in.
All right, hey, I respect that. I respect that tip major. Hey, Ben Holloway.
There it is.
So my answer is, I think, like kind of a combination of what the three of you have said. They started tailing off. Well, not tailing off. They're still 9-4, but their season started to become harder, even when they were winning. Starting with the first game out of the bye that they won the shootout with the Chargers, and one of the most entertaining games the whole year. I think it was 41-38 at the Chargers, the first game out of the bye. And they won the game, obviously, but that was the beginning of the defense sucking. That was the beginning of that. And part of that is the injuries. Gardner Johnson, which I cannot think of his first name, but he was the Eagles safety last year. He played, I believe, only that first game against the Chiefs and then got hurt in the second game. And talk about somebody brand new to a team making an immediate impact. Gardner Johnson made an immediate impact in that Chiefs game. Honestly, I think he was one of the biggest reasons that they won that game. Not necessarily for interceptions or fumbles, but just like an attitude, like a defensive player, like swag, like I'm that guy. And because you got me, we're great. And it was like a personality thing. You could see the Lions defense like kind of looking up to him, even though he just got there. And he went out in the second game. And then their rookie corner, I think his last name is Branch, has missed, I think, 4 or 5 games. They've had a lot of injuries on defense, which is partially to explain why their defense has gone to crap. Because for just being completely honest, and Marissa, we love you. We hope the Lions do well. But their defense is right there with the Eagles' defense right now as a bottom 5 defense in just about every category. That's a bigger concern right now than Goff, to be honest.
And Ben, they about to lose to those Broncos. You said that the Broncos couldn't win on the road. I do think last week you said that they couldn't win a game on the road. And I think you were talking trash about my Broncos. We were going to beat the Chargers, and then look what happened. So how does your face feel now?
So before you say all of that, I got them winning Saturday night.
Oh, now you got us winning. Okay.
Before you said any of that, and I ain't changing my pick either. I ain't changing my pick.
We about to win that division too. Just saying. Tip, he's a hater.
You're gonna need Mahomes to keep sliding, or his receivers to keep dropping the passes. And so far, they're pretty good at dropping passes. So you can probably bank on them being like, I don't know, should I catch it? I don't know.
It's like a hot potato.
That, like, how are you so bad at catching a football when that's your main responsibility is to catch the football? That is a whole other conversation. Like, they're wide receivers. As a wide receiver, you have one primary job. Yes, you block and run blocking, but as a wide receiver, when you're a kid, why do you want to play wide receiver? To catch the ball. You want to catch the ball and you want to score touchdowns. So you've been playing wide receiver for how many years? How many years have you been catching the football? And now all of a sudden you just forgot how to catch the football? Your primary responsibility?
It's bad.
Like, what the like, what? It makes no sense whatsoever. And sorry, I'm going off a little tangent here. Mahomes, to his credit, apologized on either Tuesday or Wednesday. He did totally overreact both at the game, after the game with Josh Allen, and in the media press conference immediately after, which he admitted to, I believe, yesterday. But that was what I tried to explain to my friend because he was like, oh, Mahomes is a crybaby. I hate that guy. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you realize that frustration started in week 1? And now we're at week 14? He reached the boiling point, and then he exploded.
So
that's what happened.
There's a really interesting stat that there's 2 stats that stood out with Pat Mahomes. 33 drops among all of his receivers, which I think is the most in the league. Yep. Last season, he averaged about 309 yards passing per game. Now he's down to 263. It's 263, 264. And a lot of people who say that it's not that's not like a big drop on Twitter. That's a very, very, very big drop of production.
Multiply
it is not Pat Mahomes.
Multiply that over 17 games. That's a very big
this
drop.
This is not a Pat Mahomes issue. Like, you got to watch the games. Mm-hmm. You got to watch it, right? Mm-hmm. And what it is that he is throwing that ball where no one else can get it, and they can't catch the goddamn ball. Travis Kelce's the only person that's going to be able to do it. But Tip, holla at your boy.
Well, you know what,
Jeff? It's like that Little Giants, the movie Little Giants, when the guy gets his hands stuck together and he can't catch it, and he's like this, and he can't catch the ball. It's like that's what the receivers got in Kansas City. They got line stuck like this.
You know, everything with Kansas City is the same, except for adding Rashid Rice.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Rashid Rice for Juju. That's the swap. That's
everybody else is there the same. The only other difference that I can think of is this damn Matt Nagy.
Yes.
I am telling you.
Yes.
I look, we saw what he did to the Chicago Bears.
They missed the enemy.
I know one thing. I know that Pat Mahomes, Andy Reid are like, if you guys saw that quarterback show that was on Netflix, you would have seen it. I mean, they like Pat Mahomes has so much autonomy when he gets down there to the goal line, to the line when he's in the huddle. I mean, they trust each other. And then you bring this squirrely looking I almost did it. But you bring this squirrely looking dude in here, Matt Nagy, and he's over there with the play calling sheet on his face like this, talking to Patrick Mahomes. I don't know what he's saying. I don't know what he's telling Patrick Mahomes. I don't know what he's not. I tell you one thing he's not doing. He's not coaching up these receivers. The receiving coach and Matt Nagy. He should have gone and coached up these receivers several weeks ago, because you would have avoided this blow up by Patrick Mahomes. So I'm blaming Matt Nagy.
I feel you.
Hold on, real quick. One name, DeAndre Hopkins. I heard DeAndre Hopkins was free in the offseason. They decided not to go get him.
Hey,
you saw some of those catches? You saw some of those catches on
Jeff, right? Are you saying that DeAndre Hopkins is better than what they have? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine?
Jeff, there was sarcasm. There was sarcasm.
Imagine if DeAndre Hopkins was on that. This team has been playing with fire since Tyreek Hill has left. And Juju Smith-Schuster was the perfect security blanket for that team. Mm-hmm. Now you take that security blanket away. They know that Travis Kelce is the only viable threat. So you take that away, the rest of them ain't doing it. It just ain't happening. Again, I know you got some thoughts, and we get to fantasy football, and we're just going to close out here in like 5 minutes.
Let's get to some fantasy football.
Yeah.
No, let's go to that.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's I'm just gonna call audible here so we can get. I just want to change it up here just for the sake, and we want to throw it to you, Tip. I want everyone to name one player that has been the biggest surprise
Yep.
and then
biggest surprise.
one player that's been a biggest disappointment. Tip,
Yeah.
your thoughts, and then Ben, then Gary, and then we will do Ben's loud thing.
Yeah. So for the whole season, right? So
Yeah.
my biggest surprise has been Rashad White. I was
Mhm.
a big Rashad White fan coming into this season. I was a zero RB guy. I was like, I'm not gonna get a wide receiver. Excuse me, a running back until round 5, round 6. So Rashad White, quietly, this guy's in the top 10 in PPR. He has gotten 19 touches a game. They're not afraid to give him the ball. And then not only that, he plays Green Bay coming up this week, so he should have another really good week. After that, he's got a couple of tough weeks ahead. A guy that I'm disappointed in for this season is going to have to be Calvin Ridley. I thought that this guy was going to come into this season,
Yeah, that's a good
and
one.
I was so big on Calvin Ridley. I was like, man, look, he's had a year off. I know it was because of the suspension, but he's had a year off, and now he gets to play with arguably probably the best quarterback that he's ever had.
And Tip, he went nuts week 1.
Week 1, he
Week
did
1,
great.
2
and
touchdowns, over 100 yards. Yeah.
I was like, yo, this is coming into fruition. And all of a sudden, they just had a big drop off. Christian Kirk got in the mix, and then Zay Jones got hurt. I'm of the person who thinks that once Zay Jones is in the lineup, he kind of opens things up for Calvin Ridley. Well, that's not the case because Zay Jones has been healthy the last couple of weeks, and Calvin Ridley hasn't really done much other than the weeks previous to that. He had 2 back-to-back weeks that he did really well, but Calvin Ridley's been a disappointment for me.
Yeah, I like it.
That's it. That's all I have for the.
Who's next?
You know, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna jump in the ring on this one real quick.
All right,
I'm gonna jump in the ring.
Go for it.
All right, I'm gonna say the biggest disappointment, just because he's a Buckeye and I expect him to be just a little bit better, was Terry McLaurin.
Oh, McLaurin, yeah, that's a good one.
A very big disappointment, okay, because he only had 3 targets last week and had a zero burger. Okay, this is a guy that I think with like better coaching and better play, you put him on another team, he's a good second wide receiver option, maybe a decent number 1. Like I think
he put up 1,500 receiving yards in his sleep.
Right,
with a good quarterback, 1,500 would be his number. Yeah, every year.
Yeah, I just think McLaurin has been that. And then, one guy that has been a very big surprise for me, but I'm really not surprised, is Jordan Addison. Based on where he was drafted, and based on the fact that when he won the award for best receiver in 2021 when he was at Pittsburgh before he went to USC. So a lot of people are forgetting that, yes, this guy's undersized, but this dude's a baller and he can catch, and he's going to be a legitimate number 2 option outside of Justin Jefferson. And I look forward to seeing what he's going to do in the next 2 to 3 years, and especially from a dynasty perspective. But your thoughts, Ben? Oh, go ahead, Ben. Your people.
All right, Gary, go for it. I'll go last. Gary,
go for it.
Okay, so in thinking about the disappointment, I'm going running back. So disappointment.
Okay.
I'm going to start, actually scratch that. I'm going to start with my biggest surprise, Kyren Williams with the Rams. I think, in that running back room, there's a lot of talent, and he's kind of just shown to be the best, and he's really exploded in a manner in which, that team's going to be all right long term as long as he stays healthy.
Gary, I'm going to do you a favor and add on. I'm not trying to interrupt you. He's almost in the top 10 for running backs, and he missed 4 games. In PPR, he's number 11 right now, and he missed 4 games and missed half of another game. So he missed 4.5 games. He's almost top 10.
The sky's the limit for him. I really do believe that. I think that if he's going to be another one of those like workhorse running backs that we're going to see as long as he can stay healthy. Disappointment. I'm going to say Alexander Madison of the Vikings. I think they get rid of Dalvin Cook. Like that move was set up for you to be the guy, and you've done exactly nothing. And I speak as somebody who it was a 2nd round pick that I spent on him. Now, granted, it didn't really do any damage to my team long term, but it's just like, you expected more. You expected.
Yeah, Madison, you said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely expected more. Yeah.
And it's been a real dud. And I'll throw Justin Herbert in there a little bit just because We always talk about this Charger team is literally the best bad team or the worst good team. I haven't figured out yet which one,
Yep.
but there's always an excuse with them, and it's always like you have the talent. You have that Charger team has the talent on both sides of the ball to be in the top three in the AFC.
Oh, Gary, you're setting up my Ben Gets Loud perfectly. So
I'm just saying, like,
you're setting it up. You're teeing it up perfectly.
So yeah, I'm like, I look at him, obviously injury now being done for the season. That doesn't help, but like, this team should have been better off than where they currently sit.
Absolutely.
But go ahead, Ben.
So I'll go fantasy football quick, and then you led right into it. So I'll just go Ben Gets Loud, and I think everyone will leave. I think that'll be the end. So I'll go fantasy football, and I'm gonna go with a surprising name as my disappointment, but I will lead with the positive surprise would be DJ Moore. Now, partially because he's had like 2 or 3 different quarterbacks throwing him the ball, which makes it a little bit more impressive. And number 2, out of wide receivers, he's number 6 in the entire league. He's number 6 in PPR points. DJ Moore with 3 different quarterbacks. Like, that's pretty impressive. That's pretty good. And then for my disappointment, I actually am going to go with somebody who was a Triple Crown winner about 2 years ago. Missed time at the beginning of the season. So here we go on Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp, 5 games that he played, healthy, and played, less than 7 points. 5 times. With Stafford as the quarterback for almost all of that time. Stafford as your quarterback, 5 times, less than 7 points. And that's somebody who led the league in receptions, in touchdowns, and in yards 2 years ago. I don't know how that can't be a disappointment. Like, people who have him on their team, like, they not because of him, and they've been disappointed by him. There's no other way to say it. Cooper Kupp, as being such a star/superstar, to have games less than 10 points, worse than that, less than 7 points 5 times. That's a big disappointment. And then as far as my why Gary teed it up, Justin Herbert. My man, we know you are injured right now, and we wish you a quick recovery, and we wish that you weren't injured. We don't wish injury on anybody ever. I wouldn't on the Eagles, on the Giants, on anybody. I want to beat you at your best, and that's how it's supposed to go down. So Justin Herbert, hopefully quick, speedy recovery. We hope you get well. We would rather you be on the field to get that out of the way. And I realized Justin Herbert has been saddled with poor coaching. Forget the head coach. I would say poor coaching for the entirety of 6 years, let's say, of his career. I think he's had bad coaches like everywhere, like QB coach, coordinator, head coach. Like, I just think he's had bad coaches like the majority of his career. Okay, so that both things can be true at the same time. So I think that he has not received good coaching for his entire career. Okay, but, and there's always a but, as Tony Kornheiser and PTI likes to say, there's always a but. So Justin Herbert right now, behind Deshaun Watson, has the second highest guaranteed dollars. Deshaun Watson has a $230 million guaranteed. No one will ever top that, most likely. Justin Herbert is $219 million. I think it's 218.7, whatever. Round up. $219 million in guaranteed dollars. And we know, forget statistics, we know how talented he is. He can throw the ball wherever he wants, pretty much whenever he wants, on a dime. He has that arm strength, that he's the prototypical, I want that guy. He's tall, he's athletic, I have the arm strength. Okay, so if that's the case, and you have a talented roster, which you do, for your whole career you've had talent. You've had Eckler, you've had Keenan Allen, you've had Mike Williams. Like, on offense, you have had skill position players. You've had talent on offense. Now, his career record, which again, We're not putting the full blame on him. I'm just pointing out if you're the second highest paid quarterback in the NFL, your record as a starter is 30 wins and 32 losses. 30 wins and 32 losses. And forget the losses that win-loss, because a lot of that we can say coaching, right? Stupid coaching decisions, Staley going for it on fourth down all the time. Here's where there's a counter argument to that, let's say. In the fourth quarter, since he came into the league, quarterback with the most turnovers in the fourth quarter is Justin Herbert. Since he started in the NFL, the most turnovers in the fourth quarter, Justin Herbert. That's fourth quarter is winning time.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you're supposed to elevate, where you're supposed to show, I am that guy, I am that superstar, I am that dude. And I can go just off memory, week 1 this year, that shootout, Miami and the Chargers, 38-35 Miami. Herbert got the ball back with like 2 minutes left. He didn't get one first down. 4 out. That's it. Done. I don't know, man. If you're getting paid $219 million, you should not have a below 500 record and have the most turnovers of any quarterback in the entire NFL, which that includes Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson is in the NFL. So you have more turnovers in the fourth quarter than freaking Zach Wilson. That's it. That's what I got.
All right. Well, hey, I'm with it. Tip, Gary, love that you guys have been able to come on. I'm just going to say that the narrative for Justin Herbert is going to be, I don't know. I just think he needs better coaching.
Absolutely. That's why I said that's what it is. Like, I think that he has had poor coaching the majority of his career.
Well, I think also he needs his players to stay healthy. Like, he needs his receivers to stay healthy.
Yeah,
Mike Williams has never played a full season with him. Keenan Allen's been banged up. He's out tomorrow. I think if he gets a full complement of his actual weapons, we haven't seen that, so we don't know. And that's not an excuse.
Yeah, you're right. Like in stretches, we've seen their full roster, but not for an entirety.
Yeah, right.
Of a whole season,
I would like to see. I would like to see the football gods grace. The wide receiver room with some health, and maybe we could see
maybe a little
what his full potential is.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick will be the coach of the Chargers next year. Boom! I said it. You think I'm
maybe
it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Yeah.
No, that's Jim Harbaugh's job.
But so I like that, but I'll throw another name. I know we're going, but I'll throw another name. The coordinator on the Lions that everyone is saying is going to go to
Ben
Carolina.
Johnson.
Yeah.
Why?
He said he's staying.
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Right, that's true.
When he's offered the money, if he has a choice between going to if the money's the same and he can be this quarterback and his team be the Chargers, or his quarterback be Bryce Young and the Panthers, everything else is the same. He's freaking taking the Chargers. So I'm going to say, watch out. If Staley gets canned, Ben Johnson is going to be a name that definitely interviews for the Chargers. That's what I will say.
Okay. All right. Well, folks. Well, Tip, as we like to bring other people on, do you want to tell people about your show to remind the lovely viewers of what you got going on before we conclude?
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, so you can find me at, Tip Major. There's my Twitter handle. Also on Instagram, Facebook. I do rankings every week. I have several shows on Spaces inside Twitter. One with Bob Harris of Football Diehard. Shout out to Bob Harris. I have another show tomorrow.
Tip Major, be more specific. Say the days and the time. Shine. This is your time to shine. What days and what time? What days and what time?
Oh, no, I got you. So I also have a show on Thursday nights. I have 2 shows on Thursday night. I will tell you the time on that one. It's 5 o'clock Central Standard Time on Thursday, and then 6 o'clock Central Standard Time right after that. So it's 2 hours. You get to hear, my perspective on fantasy football. And then I also have a space usually on Wednesdays, but we didn't have one today. But that's with the High Point
What?
Creator Network. But that one's at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Is that
we
the
just
one?
have a
Is that the one that you do with Rippy?
No, that's the one I do with Des Bryant and those guys over there.
Des Bryant.
Yeah. So I got it. Yeah. So I work for the High Point community, and it's a content creating team. I'm a content creator for the Las Vegas Raiders, and so I work with Des Bryant, Luke Sawhook. Those are some of the guys that I work with. Like I said, we have a show on Wednesdays at 7:00, but we didn't have one today.
That's awesome,
and then,
man. That's
thank
awesome.
you. And then the Monday show. The Monday show is at 5:00 Central Standard Time. That's with Bob Harris. So yeah, you catch me out.
Yeah, those shows, man, and Jeff or Gary, if you're on Twitter at 5:00 Eastern, and then you stay on at 6:00, you go from Patrick's Happy Hour to Chip Major, and you got an hour and a half to 2 hours of pure gold entertainment. So I'm telling you, man. Patrick's Happy Hour, 5 to 6, Monday through Friday. I'm telling you, if you're not doing anything and you want to listen to sports from 5 to 6 o'clock,
all right,
that's where you go.
Cool.
But all right, guys, I know
cool.
we all want to go.
Right.
So
Yes.
Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everybody.
Yeah, happy holidays.
Peace and love, everyone. Till this is the show until next year. So
yeah, that's why I said
until 2024.
This is the last one of this year. We're gonna take a little break. A little break.
Yeah, we'll be back.
Recharge batteries in 2024.
Absolutely.
Glad to have you on, Gary, Ben. Guys, take care.
Gary,
one last thing. Tommy DeVito's agent looks like he knows exactly where Jimmy Hoff is buried. Happy holidays, everybody.
I love it.
Happy holidays, everybody.
And that's how we end right there. That's how we end.
Happy holidays, guys.